BISD. Today will be the final day of the AOBE BISD Candidate Forum. Today's forum will be streamed live on our YouTube channel and Facebook. Monday's forum gave us some technical difficulties and did not stream live on Facebook, but it was live on our YouTube. And as soon as we realized it, we shared the YouTube video on our Facebook. We apologize for that. Our goal at AOBE is to have all of our members and the community be well informed before they decide what candidate they feel is the best solution for BISD. Immediately following this forum, if you are a member of AOBE and present here today, you will get a ballot to place your vote for your candidate of choice. If you are not here in person, you will have the opportunity to vote online. Your membership will be verified. If you do not want to vote online and you are not here in person this evening, you will have the opportunity to vote in person at our AOBE office Thursday and Friday between the hours of 9 a.m. and 8 to 8 p.m., both Thursday and Friday, and Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Again, your membership will be verified at the time of voting. As the president of AOBE, I serve the membership and therefore will support the majority vote for endorsement. We are very proud to say AOBE's endorsement will be member-based and not the decision of one person or a few committee members. We do honor the democratic system here with AOBE, and we listen to our members' voice. With that said, we have surveyed our members and compiled a list of questions for our candidates. The questions are in 5 categories: safety, salary compensation and benefits, workload, discipline, and other. Tonight's categories will be workload, student discipline, and other. Every candidate will have 2 minutes for introductions, 1 minute to answer questions, and 5 minutes for closing statements. We will be going in order by position and alpha for the questions and alternating the order throughout the questions. Ms. Drew Brown will not be able to attend this evening, but did ask for us to read the following statement. I regret that I will be unable to participate in tonight's AOBE School Board Candidate Forum. Unfortunately, canceled an event for this evening and was unable to reschedule it. I thank you for the opportunity to join in the forum that was held on Monday evening, and I appreciated the thoughtful and insightful
reiterate some of the things I went over yesterday, the day before yesterday. Actually, I've been doing one of them every night for a while. And anyway, I said to you before that one of my main goals is safety. I'm very concerned about safety of our campuses, our children, your safety in the campuses. I want to make sure we beef up safety so that we don't have to have teachers, pick up the slack over here and do their own protection. I want to see a solid foundation for wages in the future. Right now we have budgets in the red. That's not good, and I made some suggestions last time about looking at instruction versus support staff and some of the other stuff that needs to, and figure out some way we can go ahead and be sure that you can get these wage increases and a steady flow of income for the future. And also put in step increases for all positions, classified and teaching. I would like to see the stress levels go down at campuses. I think teachers are kind of, it's not busy work, but a lot of work that is being pushed on teachers right now that's really stressing them out. I'm not sure if they have the right training to be able to deal with it. Putting together, somebody came and handed them, how are you going to teach fractions to your second graders? Put down your objectives and your goals and whatever else, and in the middle of trying to teach you. I want to make sure that there's more attention paid to time in the classroom teaching and instruction than anything else. Anyway, the last thing I want to stress is true site-based management. True site-based management. So make sure that we have that in effect. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Cowan. Our next candidate, Mr. Elizondo.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to be here. My name is Carlos Elizondo, and I'm running for Bisd Place 1. I want to say, first and foremost, I'm going to be a true voice of Aobe and all Bisd staff. With over 25 years of public safety, a lot of it is now being seen. So you have that has not only dedicated his entire career to public safety, but still practice it today. As an emergency nurse, be prepared. And we are not prepared as a school district to protect not only the kids, but the staff at this time. And with that being said, I am gonna let you know today, I will be the voice to making sure that when elected, I will hold the superintendent accountable, just like he holds every individual under his watch accountable for everything. And not only that, but bring back respect to the educators and the staff that has been lost these last 4 years. Pay is not always the only thing that's important, but the respect and the pay equals a happy teacher, which ultimately is a happy child. And with that being said, I truly ask for your vote November the 8th, because not only do we have a huge task at hand starting November the 9th by being able to turn this district around. I tell you what happens on a daily basis. My wife is a counselor at school. You are supposed to have some time off, some family time, but guess what? She's been doubled work. She's been double duty. She's been lacked the support from this current district. So when she comes home, she's not doing family time. She's doing BISD time, not getting paid or respected. And she has to come back every single day, Monday through Friday. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Elizondo. Our next candidate, Mr. Caballero.
Thank you. Good afternoon. On Mondays debate, everybody asks me, why are you so serious? I'm a very serious person when it comes to the business of kids and the staff. I'm very focused when it comes to education. I've had very humble beginnings, and education has been my way to reach the new heights that I in my family had ever seen. When I started this journey, I woke up next to my wife and I told her, I've done 40 years of education. I was on my way to setting up an investment company. And I said, the guy upstairs is telling me not to do that. I'm going to give that advice free to anybody that wants it. And then I landed a bomb on her. And I said, I'm going to run for school board. That's the direction that I'm taking. My focus is to serve this community, not to take from them. And then I said, there's a couple of things that I must do in order to be an effective leader, not just only in the school system, but also in the community. I said, I will not accept any money from anybody. No vendors, no special interests, nobody. The only people that I accepted money for this campaign, I have 3 Fs, I tell people, for the first time in my in my educational career, from my family, from my friends, and from my fundraisers. I am not tied to anybody. I will not accept any funds from anybody simply because my integrity as a leader, I have a name brand to protect, and that's Caballero. Don't forget that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Caballero. Our next candidate, Ms. Garza.
Hello, my name is Denise Garza, and I'm here today asking for re-election for BISD Place 2. From the moment that I was elected in November of 2020, I began working, and I have worked every day. I have worked for all teacher organizations. I have also worked for employees who are not part of teacher organizations. I have even guided some of them to sign up for some teacher organizations. And we have proven in these 2 years that we value our teachers' salaries. We brought up their salaries that had not been done in many years. We value our classified employees because many of us could not get the job done without that classified employee working next to us. And we finally brought them forward to $15 an hour. We guaranteed our bus drivers 40 hours a week. Previously, board had removed the 40 hours a week from them. Our bus drivers have a very important job, and that is bringing our children to school every day in the mornings and at nights. So we have worked for our employees. We have worked for our community. I have brought back the integrity to this seat, and I continue to work for you all. And as a former BISD employee, I know how it's like to be out there working your 5 days a week, 8 hours, sometimes even more, because you know what? I was a classified employee and I took work home and I was not compensated for that work. And why? Because I love my job and I love my district. I am a proud BISD product, having gone to Morningside Elementary, Perkins Middle School, and Rivera High School. And I am also a proud BISD parent, and I have given back to this community, not just right now as a BISD board, but I have sat in other boards and I continue to advocate for our students.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. Our next candidate, Mr. Ortiz.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, committee members. Once again, I want to thank you so much for the invitation. I am very proud to be here in front of you, sharing my platform and my qualifications. I also want to go ahead and, thank and greet the individuals that may be online right now watching this presentation. You are important to me. Everyone is important. My name is Frank Ortiz, and I am your candidate for the Brownsville Independent School District School Board of Trustees, Place 4. Question is, why are you running? Why am I running? Because I have a passion for education. I've done it for 41 years, and I continue doing it with UTRGV Brownsville. I supervise student teachers. They're going to be our future leaders in the classroom as soon as January. And we are preparing them, and I'm still working with them. I'm still in tune with what's happening within the school district. I'm still in tune with their concerns. I'm still in tune with their needs, and I hear their voices. BISD gave me many things throughout my career. But the most important thing that BISD gave me was an education. And it's my opportunity now to give back to the district. And I am willing to serve on this board as your place for, that I've been elected to Place 4. I do want to represent you. I will hear your voices and I will answer your voices. That's my pledge to you. This is why I'm running, and this is what I have to give back to the district. We talked about safety. It is my biggest passion at this point in time. I talked about compensation. It continues to be my biggest concern. I talked about the lack of respect, and that still is my biggest concern as well.
Thank you, Mr. Ortiz. Our next candidate, Dr. Tipton.
Thank you. I am Dr. Prissy Roca-Tipton, and I am running for BISD Place 4. I am a proud product of BISD. I went to El Jardín Elementary, Martin Elementary, Russell Elementary, and I also went to Stell Middle School, and I am a proud Hannah Eagle, class of 1990, and a proud four-year letterman in basketball. This year marks my 21st year in higher education. But I just want to get right into it. My ultimate goal for BISD Place 4 is to ensure that we continue to foster a culture of equity and respect while providing students, staff, and administration access to the right resources coupled with equitable pay for all. And despite a global pandemic that we are faced with and a spike in healthcare costs, I am committed to balancing a budget without any tax increases to provide savings to our working families while preserving a healthy reserve fund. We all know what happened during the pandemic. We all had to stay home for 4 months, and we committed to continuing to pay our staff during that 4 or 5 months. So having a healthy reserve fund is very important. I am committed to seeking competitive bids to seek best value, preserving a positive self-insurance fund to ensure that we do not increase our healthcare costs. I am committed to closing the wage gaps for our teachers, certified and hourly, keeping our schools safe, ensuring that our bus drivers maintain the 40-hour work week, investing in the education and training of our security guards necessary for them to secure a peace officer license. Last but not least, I am committed to address the learning loss to ensure that all our students graduate college and career ready. But most importantly, I am committed to addressing the mental health needs of our students, staff, and family through best practices. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tipton. We will begin with question number 1, and starting our question number 1 responses will be Mr. Cowan. Question number 1. Topic 3, workload. Work-related stress, difficulties in teaching students, redundancy, excessive paperwork for teachers, as well as increasing tasks for non-teaching employees to meet voids left by unfilled vacancies. Question number 1. Teachers are mandated to use different learning platforms with similar functions. What is your position on requiring teacher input when considering learning platforms prior to its purchase? Platforms in BISD right now: Quaver, Imagine Literacy, Imagine Math, iReady, Summit K-12, Lexia Core, and that's just to name a few.
You all know what it's like when you raise children. You send mixed messages. You know, you have 10 different platforms, and you're going to get 10 different results, and you have different things going on in different schools. You're going to have a lot of problems. This is a site-based management issue in my eyes. That at the local level and the campus level, the principal needs to take charge of that, stand up to the main office and say, this is the way we run it. I'm going to tell you this. In 1986 to 89, when I got on the board, site-based management started. We had a better site-based management than we do right now. We had better site-based management when I was trying to get it reinstalled again in the district. And the last time I served on the board, 2016, 2020. We need to go back to that and let campus-based decisions take place at the campus, and teachers have a say-so in what goes on in the classroom. That's something that has to happen. Anyway, I'm going to leave my answer at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Cowan. Our next candidate, Mr. Elizondo.
I think the answer is pretty simple, is making sure that there is no more added programs. We need to put a stop to all these programs that continue to be added on the back of the educators. And by doing so, we need to reach out to the people who actually use them. And that's your membership. Your membership should be priority number 1 in being able to be brought to the table when these programs are being vetted through the district. Normally what happens is they're vetted through the board members. And if you notice, why do we have so many programs doing the same thing over and over? And why is it an obligation to you to be able to use so many programs to complete one task? It should be easier for you. The less amount of time you put in putting all this information, redundant information into these programs, the more time you'll have to educate our children. And isn't that the bottom line? And by doing so, we're not only showing that your membership has a play in this role, but it's also saying, you know what, we respect your opinion and we respect what are your needs first and foremost before the district administration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Elizondo. Our next candidate, Mr. Caballero.
Yesterday, when I introduced myself, I think I got ahead of y'all's questioning, but that's okay. We need to put a moratorium on a lot of these platforms. We have too many programs. In order for us to keep the integrity of the classroom instruction, I gotta tell you this, because it was mentioned for the second time last night at the board meeting. Lesson planning on forethought. That's ridiculous when you have to spend a lot of time planning. The planning should be just something that the teacher utilizes to get to the student expectations, which are already set by the state. Let's not make this too difficult on our staff where they're spending 3 hours to plan. I've never heard of that. I know it was coming in when I retired, and I said, this is gonna be a big mistake. Boy, was I ever so right. Also, I'm gonna ask that they stop inputting grades into 2 platforms. And then the other thing is the data walls. That's just a waste of time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Caballero. Our next candidate, Ms. Garza.
Thank you. As a former employee, I will say, I've always been taught, work smarter, don't work harder. And with all this redundant paperwork, I understand we have so many platforms, but I think we should leave it up to the teachers. If one platform works for them and maybe not for another teacher, let them decide what platform they want to use. And with a grade book, you know, putting grades in 2 separate programs, I'm not for that. I was once a data entry clerk, and the grades that we received during grade verification was through Grade Speed. So if that other program does not feed into the system for report cards, we need to eliminate that. But I do agree, we need to leave it up to the teachers to use the programs and the softwares that they want to use that helps them educate and teach our students. And also bringing up a committee. Let our teachers who are using these softwares, let them decide what programs our district should bring into the table for approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. Our next candidate, Mr. Ortiz.
Thank you. I've been attending board meetings for almost a year. And since then, I've been hearing this concern come up all year long. I heard it last night again. So the question is, what action are we taking to listen to our teachers, to listen to our organizations that represent our teachers? There's absolutely no place in the classroom, you know, for redundant teacher paperwork. You know, they're in the classroom to teach. You know, they're being asked to do unnecessary things such as unnecessary paperwork, the duplication of programs. You know, our teachers are overwhelmed already. They have many other duties that they perform. Morning duty, after school duty, lesson plans, grades, faculty meetings, grade level meetings, department meetings, ARDs. I can go on and on. But are we listening to them? I will listen as your elected board member, and I will take action. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ortiz. Our final candidate for question number 1, Dr. Tipton.
Thank you. I just want to add that we want to remind everyone that addressing the student learning loss post-pandemic began almost a year ago, and it's very fluid. It's very fluid. Sometimes I wish that it could come down from the local level into our site-based decisions, but one of the things that I want everyone to understand is that the same way that the teachers feel is the same way we feel. You know, that's why it's very important that we unite with the membership, to ensure that our state leaderships and that we're on that House floor and we're the first ones on that floor come January, because the way and the method and all the software that they're putting down and trickling down to the state levels, it's ridiculous. But however, If there's anything that we can control from our level, at the local level, I am supporting a subcommittee created of teachers so we can look at any obsolete and unnecessary paperwork that we need to delete, including softwares.
Thank you, Dr. Tipton. Question number 2. We will begin with Mr. Elizondo. Many educators, both teaching and non-teaching employees, are afraid to voice their concerns on the workload out of fear of retaliation. What is your plan to have educators' voices be heard?
Thank you. What you hear here is a lot of excuses. Most of the time, you're hearing it from current board members. And the excuses are, we're gonna start, and we're gonna do, and we're gonna look into. Why didn't you look into it 2 years ago for some people here? Why didn't you look into it 4 years ago? Why is it that some board members, if they want your respect, right, because that's what you want respect, they should have shown respect by being here. That is the issue that we're having as educators. You want to be heard, but you are so scared to go up there and talk to anybody because first and foremost, if you go talk to a board member, they're gonna go and say your name. You know what? Fulanito told me this, and we need to fix it. Well, guess what? That gets really, really sent super fast, not on snail mail. It gets sent directly to that principal. That principal puts a mark on you, and now what do you have to do? You have to depend on your union to defend you. That is just shameful. We must absolutely stop that. If a member comes to me and asks me, there's a concern, believe me, there will be anonymous. I will take that to the superintendent and make sure that it's fixed without having any issues brought back on that employee.
Thank you, Mr. Elizondo. Our next candidate, Mr. Caballero.
During the course of the last 9 months, as we even go to the boardroom, we have conversations with people, and these are people that have worked alongside me as their ex-colleague. He says, don't talk to me. If I'm seen with you, I'm gonna get retaliated against. That is shameful. When you as a classroom teacher are not able to voice your concern as to the direction that we're going in this district, and I said this yesterday, independent thinkers create shared success. I have never seen a district depend on 3 people to give responses to the principals, and they're waiting for them. I've never seen that. I've never worked for an administration like that until I seen that in our district for the last year and a half. I worked for them as well. I know firsthand what is happening. My question is, what is the current board doing about it? Nothing.
Thank you, Mr. Caballero. Our next candidate, Ms. Garza.
I am one who does not believe in retaliation. No employee should ever have to feel retaliated on. I can vouch, and I think your leaders for AOBE can vouch that anytime a concern has been brought to my attention from your union, I have never shared a name of the individual. And I have shared with them the ways I approach it to the superintendent. So you can ask your leaders how I have taken that approach. But another thing is, many times, some of our employees, because they're certain supporters to some of these board members, they get retaliated on because their administration may not be supportive of us. So retaliation happens in both sides, whether you're a board member or the individual that they're supporting is up against that other board member. So I am not for retaliation. No employee should have to go through any type of retaliation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. Our next candidate, Mr. Ortiz.
Unbelievable. It really is, and it's shameful. How are we ever going to move forward if we don't hear from our stakeholders? If they're afraid to come up and let you know what they feel and what they need and what their concerns are, how are we ever going to move this district forward if we don't allow them to come up and talk to us and let us know? Like I told you on Monday, I hear your cries. I hear your needs. I hear your concerns, and I hear your wants. I will address those issues. And as far as retaliation, there's no place for that in education. If we say that we're a team within our district, how are we ever going to learn from each other? How can we be a team if we don't listen to each other? Because we're afraid to speak up. That is absolutely unacceptable and has no place in our district. I will look into it, and believe me, it's going to stop.
Thank you, Mr. Ortiz. Our our next candidate for question number 2, Dr. Tipton. Would you like me to repeat the question? Many educators, teaching and non-teaching employees are afraid to voice their concerns on the workload out of fear of retaliation. What is your plan to have educators' voices be heard?
I stand here today letting everyone know that I have taken, on top of a full-time job and a full-time mom, I have taken every single call. I respond to every email. If I don't respond within that day, I put it on my list. I get back to them. I not only these union leaders, Miss Ida, but their members as well. I have never seen an issue. I mean, in fact, they actually say thank you for always returning our call. Even people who post things on social media, or people call me, did you see this? I don't know these people, these constituents. I find a way to get a hold of them. I always like to face the problems first. And regarding retaliation, yeah, there is no place in BISD for that, not in me, and there shouldn't be anywhere in this world. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tipton. And our final candidate for question number 2, Mr. Cowan.
Thank you very much. I've never had anybody fear me, and I hope that never happens. Because I'm not that kind of person. I know when Mr. Elizondo was fire chief, his fellow firemen feared it. I see people fear Ms. Brown. When I was just trying to get a position on the ballot, people would move away from me. They didn't want me to stand next to them. I mean, just accidentally didn't want me to stand next to them. This was ridiculous. But you don't have to fear me. You know, if you don't want to nominate me, I'll still love you. Thank you.
I love you too.
Thank you, Mr. Cowan. Our next question, we will begin with candidate Mr. Caballero. Question number 3, what plans do you have to address redundancy in paperwork, such as rewriting lesson plans, forethought, LPAC, RTI, SLO, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
I said this earlier and I will repeat it again. We have SLOs are part of the state requirements that we cannot get away from, the student learning objectives. You already heard my opinion on lesson planning, on the program forethought. You know, we have Tango, Eduphoria, Lead Forward. The list goes on and on. There's about 6 programs. And that requires that you also, that's where you're getting all your data to put up all on these beautiful walls. And I said, what a waste of time. That information is on Tango, folks. Your principals have it. You should have access to it. When you give a benchmark test, they actually can give you the score, and also it can give you questions to what student expectations have not been met. We are out of control. These programs, in some cases, Imagine Reading and Imagine Math, do the same thing as iReady. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Caballero. Our next candidate, Ms. Garza.
Like I have said in the past, let's work smarter, not harder. And with this redundant paperwork, I am for removing a lot of it. Of course, whatever the state requires, we need to comply with the state. But if there's something that we need to put into our employee handbook and, you know, let our teachers teach, I am for that. I don't know who in the world has time to look at every lesson plan, especially in our elementary setting, where they have to make one for every subject with 16 different areas. To me, that is ridiculous because a lesson plan does not determine what a teacher is teaching to our students. And I think we have proven that our teachers are excellent because we are an A-rated district. And we're an A-rated district, why? Because of our teachers and their teaching.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. Our next candidate, Mr. Frank Ortiz.
I hear you. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, dot, and it keeps on going. Yet what has been done about it? There's no need for redundancy. I've already talked about that. There's no need for duplication. I've already talked about that. You know where I stand. We need, and I told you on Monday, as a school principal, I was always a committee person. I always had my committees come in, talk about our goals, our objectives, and how we're going to get there. Tell them, this is where we want to go. How we get there is up to us. Do we want to take a straight line, or do we want to take a bunch of curves? You tell me. You are the ones that are in the classroom. The only thing is about site-based management. If we are going to allow, if that's the way to go, is upstairs, central office, going to allow the campuses to make those decisions.
Thank you, Mr. Ortiz. Our next candidate, Dr. Tipton.
Thank you. And I'm not going to sit here and lie to you all, but I did sit with in a TA meeting with the commissioner while I heard him speak. If you're a true practitioner and you're really involved with the whole K-12 and what's going to come down if we don't get involved at the state level, because I'm always committed to hearing everyone during the local at the local level. But all of these things have come up during this last year with House Bill 4545. It's a fluid method that the state is coming down in order and letting us know how they feel they can address the learning loss. I sat there while they talked about now these high quality instructional materials, which are other softwares that may be mandated. So if we don't unite and if we don't continue to work together, we're gonna see all these additional softwares come down. However, I am committed to supporting definitely lesson plans across grade levels for each content area, so that way our teachers could get some relief. And some that are very general, definitely supporting all populations. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tipton. Our next candidate, Mr. Cowan.
This is the bane of every teacher. This redundancy, having to input grades in two different places, doing lesson plans when there's state lesson plans in place already. A lot of it doesn't make any sense. And I would like to say, just stop it. I wish we could do that. I think we can do it a lot if we get our act together. With this, what Dr. Tipton talks about is going to the state, ask for waivers, try to get some exceptions. You know, let's think about this collectively. You as an organization, the board, the main office, and the board will guide the superintendent through goals to get there. I can tell you that, because the superintendent will listen to well-written goals. And maybe we can get there and reduce this redundancy so you don't have to do these inane, silly things sometimes where you do the same thing 5 times. You know, it sounds easier than said and done, but you know what? If you put your mind to it, you can get a lot done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cowan. Our next candidate, Mr. Elizondo.
I don't mean to sound disrespectful, but it sounds like the current board continues to. Have you ever seen Charlie Brown, where the teacher just bah, bah, bah? That's what it sounds like right now. All we're hearing is, "I promise, yes, most definitely, I will do it." But has it been done? You're talking about 4 years, 4 years to date. We're telling you, these gentlemen up here are telling you what we think that should be done on the basis that the membership is driving these concerns to us. Has this been done before? Most definitely. Have your association gone to this board and asked them, please, you're killing our teachers. You're killing our teachers. There's enough work on their backs. They're going home and they're not spending time with their family. You are killing our teachers. We're gonna give you a $4,000 raise, but we're gonna double your work. We're not gonna hire any more counselors. We're not gonna hire any more teachers. We're not gonna hire any more clerks. We will pound you to the ground, but we're gonna pay you $4,000 more. But we're not gonna do away with these programs because it's all about money. Redundancy is killing our teachers. It needs to stop. Hold the superintendent accountable.
Thank you, Mr. Elizondo. Our next question will begin with candidate Ms. Garza. Classified positions are being eliminated on the front line, and those tasks and responsibilities are being reassigned to others. For example, the cleaning square footage has been increased for custodians. Receptionist clerks positions have been eliminated through attrition. Enrollment, computer technicians are through attrition and enrollment. Computer technicians are required to, etc. Campus administrators' workloads have been overlooked. Their day does not end when students leave. They are required to attend extracurricular events such as games, competitions, etc. We have a lot of etceteras. They are required to cover classes, perform employee evaluations, perform administrative tasks such as payroll, to be test proctors, etc. What solutions can you offer to address the overload on all these employees?
Thank you. Well, I will say, as a former classified employee, in the 2015-2016 school year, my position was cut. And I worked in special services, and I was the only person that did the position that I did. No one else was trained. And I was reassigned to a high school to become a data entry clerk. I had not done data entry clerk in a while. So I understand that this has been happening since the 2015-2016 school year. And when I found out a few weeks ago, after reviewing some compensation plans, that attendance clerks were cut from our middle schools, it was very disheartening. I believe there is certain positions who should not be counted on the enrollment. And those are your secretary, your front office clerk, your data entry clerk, your records clerk, your attendance clerk, and your parent liaisons. These ladies or these individuals, they work very hard. And also deans should not be cut from the position, from the enrollment positions. So this is not new. It has been happening in 2016, and I do not stand for it.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. Our next candidate, Mr. Ortiz.
We need to staff our schools appropriately. And this is why we need to listen to our members, to our campuses, to our administrators on what is needed on those campuses. You know, when I was a principal, I'd show up to the campus. All of a sudden, the teacher was gone. We're looking for the teacher all over the place. I didn't even get a courtesy call as a principal telling me that that teacher had been cut. And I call, where's the teacher? She was access. She was access. She was there. We need her somewhere else. She went somewhere else. That put us in a bind. What do we do with those students? You know, we just heard last night, all schools are going to get a Raptor system for safety. Some schools already have them. ID machines. Where's the personnel that are going to be working with these systems? We can't be cutting, guys. We can't be cutting.
Thank you, Mr. Ortiz. Our next candidate, Dr. Tipton.
Thank you. You know, I've always said, and I want to always accept that no one is perfect, and no plan and no compensation plan is perfect. I've said it from year one, and I said it, you know, when we adopted this last budget. One of the things that we focused on was the inflation. Our community was hurting. The wage gaps, they had been stagnant for over 10 years. We focused on it. It was one thing at a time. One of the things that we realized right now is that, like I said, there's nothing that's perfect. We are already looking, last night we voted on a compression study. We are already looking at that staff ratio. We've talked to some members and some schools that do need their attendance clerk, their data clerk, And so we do need to go back to the drawing board. And I'm always a good sport to go back. And just because we've adopted something doesn't mean that it's there until next year. I'm always a good sport to go back and look at it again. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tipton. Our next candidate, Mr. Cowan.
Thank you. If you don't have the staff at the campus to count students as they come in and arrive, you're not gonna get your ADA. You're gonna get money cut from you. You're just gonna lose money, especially at the high school level. You don't have somebody counting. I'll tell you, I was on the board 86 to 89. We had 36,000 students during that period. 92 to 95, we had 38,000 students. The central building was a middle school. We didn't have anybody in it that worked for the main office. The main office, what we have right now, was not full. You know, that ought to tell you something. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cowan. Our next candidate, Mr. Elizondo. What solutions can you offer to address the overload of work?
Real simple. No excuses. Your membership knows what you want. Your membership knows what you need. All we need is for the current board, unfortunately for them now, it's an election cycle. They might not have this chance again November the 8th. But you have been telling them, not just last month, but for the last 2 years for some of us, 4 years for most of them, but they have not listened to you. It has fallen on deaf ears. All we hear is, you know, what happened back then, what happened over there, Mr. Cowan said back in 1886 or 1986. We're blaming everybody but ourselves. This current board had a chance to do something in 4 years. They decided not to listen to you. But guess what? They're listening today. They're answering your questions today with everybody is most definitely yes, and we'll do it. We'll start a study. We'll do a study for another study and another study. We need action now. Como decía mi abuelita, basta, it's over. We need action today.
Thank you, Mr. Elizondo. Our final candidate for question number 4, Mr. Caballero.
I carry 40 years of experience in this business. I know every aspect of everybody's position. I was a teacher aide all the way to an assistant superintendent. I think that we need to take our superintendent out into the field and make him working outside in the heat as a custodian, and make him clean. He'll get an idea of what it is to have some of these positions cut and overload custodians. You got to come out here and see how the principals are facing the rigors of their daily routines. And instead of me seeing them, how they've broken their spirits. And, you know, some of them are in tears. I see some of the folks at the classified in the office, how their spirits are broken, too much work. Our current board, I don't know, they keep saying, like Mr. Elizondo states, we're coming back to that. I gotta tell you, you're acting too late. The time to act is today. And today starts with the new movement, the new change.
Thank you, Mr. Caballero. Our next question will begin with Mr. Ortiz. Due to the increased non-compliance of DH Legal by interfering with the teacher's planning period, what are your thoughts on providing a day every 6 weeks for planning?
Good question. As a principal, and I go back and I say as a principal, because I have that experience. I was there. And like I told you, I don't know everything, but I've experienced a lot of things. I think that's a great idea. I used that format when I was principal at Aiken, Ben Bright, and Cromac. We would take a day and we would go and have a planning day for each grade level, not the whole school at the same time, different day for different grade levels. And we would provide them a whole day for them to be able to plan. Now, we have to budget for it. We have to budget for it with our own campus budget. but it was very, very successful. And the teachers were able to get a lot of things done as far as planning. They were very grateful to that because through SBDM, we decided as a committee, as a campus, what was best for our school. And that's the way that we did it. And it worked very, very well.
Thank you, Mr. Ortiz. Our next candidate, Dr. Tipton.
Thank you. I do support any innovative ideas, anything that's brought, they always say, this is the way it was always done. That's one of the things that I learned when I was on the board. I kept hearing over, that's the way it's always been done. Well, no, there's always a way for us to go back to the drawing board, look at the policy, change it. However, not everybody will want that one day. I think that most importantly, I think that we need to ask our teachers, do they want a planning day? I mean, if it was up to me, I think they need a mental health day, not a planning day, right? But so in addition, I would also, support that. But definitely, I would support it if that is what the voice is of our teachers. Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tipton. Our next candidate, Mr. Cowan.
Thank you very much. Seems like we have some problems with planning on the campuses. And I understood that we were not in compliance, if I heard the question right. Is that correct? Well, we need to get in compliance. We don't want to get in trouble with TDA. But one of the things that we need to do is we need to give teachers their planning time when they have it during the day. That's very important. If the teachers get together and say they want a planning day, when you set up the calendar, and it's voted on, I don't think that's changed over there. We should be able to do that over here. But the planning period that you have, it shouldn't be preempted. There are middle schools I know where the principals and the assistant principals just take the time away from the teachers and we're going to do something else. And that's not the way to get things done. You need to go ahead and give teachers a moment of rest to be able to get their collective thoughts and be able to develop the instruction for the next period and get ready for the rest of the day. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cowan. Our next candidate, Mr. Elizondo.
Thank you. I would love to hear what my opponent would have to say, but she's absent. Because she has been an educator for, I think it's 30-some years. I have not, but I sure have listened to the educators that have come to me and told me, it's not only something that should be given to you. By law, you're supposed to have a planning period. And that has not been given to you. It's been taken away. Why? Because they're not allowing more people to go in there and help you. They're taking away that force. So what do? They put it on your back. My wife eats lunch for maybe 5 minutes before her door is being knocked on because she has to see a student. It's not only affecting the educator, it's affecting every BISD employee. But do I support a whole day? Most definitely. I wish it could be more. But because you don't get it now, should you get it? Yes, most definitely. Not only that, if they interrupt your planning period, it should be paid because now you're back on the clock.
Thank you, Mr. Elizondo. Our next candidate, Mr. Caballero.
As the principal, I had monies in my budget that were allocated for planning every 6 weeks. All the math teachers met from 2nd to 5th, and they planned their 6 weeks. They ran their copies. They were prepared for instruction. I did the same thing for reading, and I did the same thing for the writing. We were prepared. We had a plan since day one. My administrative team and I planned for it, and it's essential that these things get done. I will support it 100%. My question is, do they have enough money in their budgets to do that today? And I hear yes, but I don't see action that's being taken at the board and administrative level. So we got to come back to things like this in order to make us successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Caballero. Our final candidate for question number 5, Ms. Garza.
In a perfect world, this would be great, a great idea. But honestly, as a board member, We have board roles, and these are campus-based decisions. You know, like Mr. Caballero said, he budgeted for something like that on his campus. But unfortunately, we don't have all administrators that think like that. We do have administrators that want to pull all employees and stretch them and doing everything else. And it's not just with our teachers, it's happening also to our clerical staff and to our paraprofessionals. They're having to do many jobs. I was one of those that had to eat at my table and my desk while I was working. And I would still have to clock out, but I was eating on my desk because there was not enough time in the day to get the job done. But it is a campus-based decision, and we need to hold our administrators who are not staying in compliance, we need to hold them accountable. And I would like to know what administrators they are so they can answer to us.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. We will be moving into our next topic, discipline. Educators feel unsupported when it comes to student discipline. We will begin question number 6 with Dr. Tipton. Should concerns with student enrollment discourage implementing consequences to a student's bad behavior? Should concerns with student enrollment discourage implementing consequences to a student's behavior? In other words, if they're misbehaving, should we worry about them leaving to a charter school?
The student leaving or the teacher? I mean, well, it could be both, you know? You know, we're in the business of educating our children, and I am not for zero tolerance. I don't like to push our children out. I really think that it's very important that if we have student discipline, that we work together with a parent and that we develop everything that we can possible to redirect that student, to bring in the family, to work with that family. It's very easy to maybe see a physical wound in a student, but it's very hard to see that emotional wound. I advocate, I'm always gonna advocate for the student. I'm also gonna advocate for the staff, but it's a very soft spot for me to stand here today and, you know, not work with any student who has discipline problems.
Thank you, Dr. Tipton. Our next candidate, Mr. Cowan.
I think that there's levels of discipline and the reasons for it. And one of them, violence, I think needs to be dealt with severely and quickly. Person needs to be removed from the school setting. I'll tell you this, don't worry about the charters. They're not going to ask for these students. They're not. You know, they're going to try to send their students to us. So that's not going to be the issue with us in terms of it. But that behavior needs to be taken care of. The school system has a beautiful campus out dealing with the Brownsville Academic Center, deal with severe issues. I think you can do a lot of settings in the campus where you deal with discipline problems there separated. You need to deal with the whole student and not just students in categories, so that you don't, you know, you could have mental issues that we're dealing with, other things that we don't know. Some people have to be alert and pay attention to what's going on in a student's life. I don't want to push students out of the life for violence. And then drugs on campuses, no. They need to be dealt with.
Thank you, Mr. Cowan. Our next candidate, Mr. Elizondo.
Thank you. I think the issue comes back to, remember what we heard the other day we were here, the team of 8? So I think it's not just about pushing that student out. I think that student has probably already gone through the process. And the teacher or the campus is at their wit's end. And by allowing that child to be there, not only, it's like the rotten apple. You put that apple within the other ones, guess what? They all become rotten. And I think that it's not a first, okay, you're misbehaving, you're out of here. I think they've gone through the process. And the process has failed us because you know that the current board has specifically and publicly gone out and said team of 8. So all they have to do is go right up to the top. The team of 8 will decide. They'll say, you know what? That kid goes back to that school. So ultimately, the decision of the campus is not being honored. The decision of the instructor or the teacher or the staff or the dean or the paraprofessional or anybody that's having those issues is not being honored. That needs to stop. The team of 8 is no longer going to exist November the 9th. We are the team of 7, and that's what needs to happen.
Thank you, Mr. Elizondo. Our next candidate, Mr. Caballero.
Thank you. In the year 2000, Mr. Wally Jackson sent me to Perkins Middle School. And at Perkins Middle School, we had a lot of issues with drugs, violence, and I put a strict plan in place. Some of you in the audience might have worked for me, and you saw the effects of what happens when you put a plan together that had no room for violence, no room for drugs. We cleaned house there in about 4 months. We got rid of stuff like this. And I'm gonna tell you something. If you don't have good, strong discipline, you don't have instruction. You don't have instruction, you got teachers complaining to the principal. And if we allow parents to come and try to advocate for their child when we have had violence or drugs, we're gonna start losing our population, other good kids, because of a lack of attention on our part. We gotta do better than that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Caballero. Our next candidate, Ms. Garza.
This is a very, how can I say it? I advocate for children. So any child who's dealing with, going through issues, what are they gonna do? They're gonna act out. And I think as educators and any educator, and it could be even an office clerk talking to this child, sometimes they just need that extra support from someone at campus that shows that they care. But I have never once received a call from a child who's been acting up and the parent complaining. I think those are the parents that do not complain about the discipline of their child, because majority of the time, they just don't know what's happening at school, nor do they care. It is very important that our administrators do set that discipline on their campus, because when an administrator sets that tone, the kids will follow. Because I worked at Cummings, and let me tell you, we did have a very tight ship there, and our kids, being that it was the downtown area, they behaved very well.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Garza. Our next candidate, Mr. Ortiz.
Thank you. There are consequences in life for things that we do, for things that students do. We do need to have disciplinary consequences, but we also need to reach out to the parents and work with them. We need to support our teachers. We don't want to tell our teachers, well, set your class, you take care of your discipline. We don't do that. We have to step up to the plate and offer that support to our teachers. Bring in the parents, offer them support, okay? It is a team effort in a sense like that. We just, and like it was said a little earlier, those are not the students that we're gonna lose. If we don't have strict disciplinary practices on our campus, we're gonna lose the kids that don't make any problems. Those are the ones that we're gonna lose, not this other student, because they're gonna send them back to us. Not only will we lose those good kids, we're gonna lose our teachers. So there has to be a support system in place, but there needs to be consequences as well.
Thank you, Mr. Ortiz. Moving on to our next question. We will begin with Mr. Cowan. This is a follow-up. At times, district administration overturns a campus-based disciplinary recommendation. Should student discipline be campus-based or district-wide?
I think it should be campus-based, period. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cowan. Our next candidate, Mr. Elizondo.
I think it should be campus-based. I think the administrative or the glass palace should be left out of those decisions. I think the individuals at the school who see them on a regular basis, who know the parents, who know the kids, know exactly what's in the best interest of that child. They see them day in and day out. I don't think it should be driven back up to the glass palace for them to make a decision to making sure that, you know, what the result is, or what the recommendation at the local level or at the campus is, and being overturned. We see that a lot. I've heard people call me and tell me, you know, we have issues with this child, we have issues with this parent, because it's not just the child, sometimes it's the parent, right? And what do they do? They turn around and say, you know what, you have to take them back. Don't you know it's a VIP? Don't you know? They give me headaches over here. They call every day. I'm sure you get those calls all the time. It should not be done that way. We should hold the teachers, the principals, the deans, and give them the respect they deserve and the recommendation that they're giving us. That's what should be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Elizondo. Our next candidate, Mr. Caballero.
I gotta make sure I stand here. I gotta tell you, we at the campus level, it should be there. It should only sit with the campus level. And we, the administrators at every campus, and I'm saying we because I still haven't forgotten that I was the principal. There is a record that we keep on a program. That's our record to see how many times has that child been to the office. If we feel that the child has been too many times to the office, we start having parental meetings. Do we really need to continue doing these things over and over? Have we developed what we call a response to intervention program? That's my experience of dealing with discipline at a campus level. And I think our principals, our assistant principals, should be the ones conducting this process, and only left up to them. Nobody else should be involved. And if we need to, there is a removal as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Caballero. Our next candidate, Ms. Garza.
Going back to student discipline, yes, it should be a campus-based decision, but there are some consequences with certain students. You know, some students, depending on what the issue is, maybe it is a felony, and you know what? We need to let our BISD police take the lead and investigate and remove that child immediately. But all discipline should be with the child and the campus administration, along with the support of the parents, because we do need to work with our parents on the discipline issues. You know, we need to find extra support for our parents if they can't handle the child because the child's acting up on campus or off campus. We need to find those resources to assist this child, because you know what, this child is in need of help. But like I have said, it is a campus-based decision, and also depending on what type of discipline it is, then we would let our BISD police get involved.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. Our next candidate, Mr. Ortiz.
Every year, the School Board of Trustees adopts, because it's state law, a student code of conduct. And that student code of conduct is pretty specific on the consequences that can be handed down to students. Keep in mind that it is policy, and at the campus level, I also agree it should be left up to the campus. We just need to make sure that we take a look at the student code of conduct and that we are within policy. And it's got a wide range, okay, of things, steps that schools can do. The problem is that sometimes they follow the policy and they do what they need to do at the campus level. Parent goes upstairs. We get the call and say, sorry, you know, you have to take that student back, or you can't do that. That's the problem. We need the support at the campus. If campuses are going to take control of student discipline, we need to support them.
Thank you, Mr. Ortiz. Our next candidate, Dr. Tipton.
For once, I thought we were gonna hear was a decision of the team of 7. But, you know, we have policies in place and we have procedures in place. We should follow them. And I believe that everything that has come to the board, if it gets to our level, it's because it's gone through the process. In fact, when they call us, we always try to redirect them. I think we can speak even to the Aobe leaders, you know, to Ms. Ida, to, you know, have they already gone to their assistant principal? Have they gone to, and if they gone through the whole process and educating all our parents, all our students, all our families, that we do have a process and we have to follow the process. And if it has to be a campus-based decision, based on whatever the consequence was or the disciplinary referral, then it is a campus-based decision. If it has to be at a different level, well, then we should go through that level and through the processes. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tipton. Our next question will begin with Mr. Elizondo. What are your thoughts on truancy? What suggestions do you have to address and remediate student tardiness and absences?
I think that falls under the law. I mean, there is a truancy law. But we also got to make sure that we want to make sure that those kids want to come to school and that those parents want to bring them to school. What do we have to follow? We have to follow the law and the policy that's already been established. It should not be up to the board member to dictate what that is. We cannot trump the law. So in that instance, what is our role? To show support, to make sure why that child doesn't want to come in. And who else is the subject matter expert? Your members are. Your teachers are. Your clerks are. They see them every day. Your bus drivers know why that should be. But what should we be doing? Upholding the law. I think that's number one, and not be involved as a board member. Like earlier was said, discipline has nothing to do at the board level. We don't listen to discipline that happens at the campus level. Truancy is the same thing. The law has to play its role, and we have to support it.
Thank you, Mr. Elizondo. Our next candidate, Mr. Caballero.
Absences, we already have personnel in our campuses, your parent liaisons. They should be tracking which students are absent. They should be making home visits. The problem is that sometimes out of the home visitors, they have so many restrictions that we've got to loosen up those restrictions. There are some things that we need to work on. I understand that. As a former practitioner in the school systems, there's some things that we got to work on from the absence process. As far as the truancies, we used to have support from the court systems where we went and presented the case to the judge. We got a lot of support there. We're still gonna have to do some type of support. I know the home visitors go out there and it says, hey, we haven't seen your son or your daughter. And then we have that system that automatically calls. We need to continue that. So yes, we are having a tough issue with that in place at this moment. And we're gonna have to work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Caballero. Our next candidate, Ms. Garza.
Truancy is not a board role, but I will say we have awesome parent liaisons out there who are working very hard every day, checking on absences, calling parents, and doing home visits. But I will say because of their funding, there's only certain things they can do. And that is one of the job responsibilities is to monitor absences and do home visits and to notify the parents when they cannot reach the parent at home. But I will say our parent liaisons right now are doing an awesome job, and truancy is not a board role, and it is a campus-based decision. I do know about 10 years ago, they used to go through the JP courts. I'm not sure if that is still happening right now. I think some home visitors might have probably stepped away from sending those 10-day notices already. I'm not sure about it, but if we're not getting support from the JP courts, I think we need to start talking to those JPs to help us out.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. Our next candidate, Mr. Ortiz.
As far as truancy, when I was a principal also, we had a great support from the JPs. You know, we would certainly work with the parent, we'd give them the warnings. You know, we'd make an appointment with the JP, send in the paperwork, we go in, and a lot of times that would take care of it. Many times. But unfortunately, like I said, I don't know if it's happening anymore. And if that's not the case, I think we need to reach out to them again for support, because it does put a dent in truancy. As far as absenteeism, I think it's been discussed already. We have great parent liaisons that go out there and make the home visits. A lot of times, they leave notes, 3 or 4 notes, and we don't get a response from the parents. As a principal, I used to go out there with my parent liaison. I said, let's go out there and find out where this parent is. Be the same thing. We'd knock. Sometimes they look out the window, they'd see me and the parent liaison, that door would never open. But they do a great job, and we need to support them.
Thank you, Mr. Ortiz. Our next candidate, Dr. Tipton.
The last thing we want is to have any one of our students drop out. In fact, continues to be my research interest is high school dropouts on border state schools. And I think that we have a great parent liaison. We need to work together. I think every campus needs to work together. I think we need to create an awareness campaign that we have excellent after-school programs before school that starting at 6, some of them end at 7. I think we have 30 of our schools. We are working very hard. We as a board support these grants and these partnerships with all these nonprofits like Communities in Schools. I think that research has shown if any of these students that have been redirected with discipline problems, research has shown that if they attend any of these programs 45 days or more, they're more likely to increase their attendance, their grades, and stay in school. And also, very important, I think that we need to continue to fund our enrichment, our UIL activities and our certifications for our students equally, fine arts, athletics, equally along with our certifications. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tipton. And our final candidate for question number 8, Mr. Cowan.
It's the principal. Principal is the one that has to take the lead on this. When my wife worked at Hudson, Miss Ayala knew the name of every student. I'm serious. She did. You go to Falk and Benito Becerra, we'll call them out. Cortez, what are you doing? This, that. They know them. They know the parents. You go to Porter, Solis knows her students. Some of the other campuses, that's saying that all of them do this, but it starts with the principal. Principal knows the staff, they'll get the parents, the students, they'll get the parents in to be able to deal with it. Then it goes to the vice principal, the assistant principal. And they need to know the students. The teachers know the students they're dealing with, especially at the elementary level. They have the small groups of the classroom they can deal with it. Where things start falling through the cracks, the parent liaison would come in and make a difference. I agree with Ms. Garza, you have to keep the funding because they're very worried right now, the board is, about losing funding for these positions. But anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cowan. Okay, our next question begins with our final topic, other. Our first candidate up for this question is Mr. Caballero. How will you ensure there is a checks and balance system without micromanaging the district?
Thank you. We need to talk to each other. We need to open up those lines of communication. Cannot be 3 people running the district. It's gotta be everybody. The information flows back and forth, sideways. It cannot be only in the hands of 3 individuals. If you don't believe, go out and speak to the principals. Go out and ask them, see what's going on. As a board, as a current board, this isn't happening today. Okay? They say it is. It is not. No, ma'am, I disagree with you. It is not. You need to talk to your principals. You need to talk to your teachers. Teachers are hurting out there because of these issues. They're afraid to get retaliated against them. You haven't done anything about that. I have a problem with that. And we tend to get to the bottom of this real quick after November the 8th.
Thank you, Mr. Caballero. Our next candidate, Ms. Garza. How will you ensure there is a check and balance system without micromanaging the district?
When you become a board member, you go through all these trainings, and governance is one of them. We are not allowed to go micromanage, because how are we supposed to hold our administrators accountable? We're allowed to make recommendations, and it's up to the administrators, which is the superintendent, because he's our only employee, to take those recommendations. Now, if he decides that he doesn't want to go with those recommendations and follows through with another idea of his, it's up to us to hold him accountable, to see if it worked or if it didn't work. But you learn all that through governance training. And it's easy when you haven't sat on this position to understand. It's easier said than done, because as we know, we are a very big district and there's many things happening. But micromanaging is one that I do not believe in. We should not micromanage our administrators in the campus level.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. Our next candidate, Mr. Ortiz.
We've always said that we hold our principals accountable for scores. We hold them accountable for discipline, as we've been talking about. We hold them accountable for everything. And our principals hold their teachers accountable as well. Bottom line is that if we do not allow those campuses and those principals and those teachers to get together and decide what's best for the school, their school that they know very, very well, they know their students, how are they ever going to meet their goals if they're constantly being told what to do, how to do it, which programs to implement, what you can and what you can't do? How are you going to hold our campuses and our administrators at the campus level accountable? That's micromanagement. We need to allow the campuses make the decisions. Now, if they don't work, well, that's why we come back as a campus and revisit and move forward.
Thank you, Mr. Ortiz. Our next candidate, Dr. Tipton.
How are we going to have checks and balances without micromanaging? Some of the board members, current board member just mentioned the governance training. We are held to a very fine line. They do throw, that governance card at us. There are a lot of districts that have violated this policy. It's becoming more and more often that people from TA go in and sit down at these districts. However, I do believe in holding our superintendent accountable because he is our only employee. And how we can have these checks and balances and check is listening to our constituents, listening to our teachers, taking the calls, working and finding that middle ground with our members and the membership from Aobe, as I have for these last 4 years. And if there's ever an issue, there has never not been an issue that I don't address. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tipton. Our next candidate, Mr. Cowan.
Boards can't micromanage. That's just that simple. The boards cannot. What boards need to do is set goals and hold superintendents accountable. And you can judge a person by what they've done in the past. I'm the only person in this room, and I am, who has been involved in the dismissal or separation of 4 superintendents when I'm on. 4, not 1, but 4. I know how to do it when it needs to be done. I don't have the problem, removing a superintendent and getting it done. It's devastating sometimes to the district when you do this. Okay, so you have to be careful. Some school systems have gotten rid of superintendents because the superintendent wouldn't jump every time a board member wanted the person hired or whatever. I hear talk from Mr. Elizondo, talk from some of the other people here. It's not that easy. You have to set your goals, and you hold the superintendent accountable based on those goals. You have to have measurable goals, and if you don't set measurable goals, you're not going to be able to judge. But if you do, then you have something to work with. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cowan. Our final candidate for this question, Mr. Elizondo.
Thank you. Your membership by this current board wasn't invited to many table talks on the issues that we have at hand. Just so you know, this current board refused to invite your membership to come and talk. So how are you gonna hold the superintendent accountable when he's the captain of this team of 8? How do you expect that to happen? How do you hold him accountable? When this current board stood up here in front of you, and each and every one of them, including Mr. Cowan, and said, I believe in the team of 8. He is the captain of this team of 8. There is retaliation, and it's alive and well in BISD today. You must stop that, and you have the choice to do that. This membership has that choice. November the 8th, retaliation stops in BISD.
Thank you, Mr. Elizondo. Our next question will begin with Ms. Garza. Many employees feel disrespected by the superintendent. How will you ensure he changes this culture?
As board members, we do hold our superintendent accountable. And for that one, I will say we do set goals. And I have not had an issue with him when it comes to this, because when I have been brought something to my attention, when he needs to meet with an employee or sometimes with a parent, he has always taken the time to sit down with that individual to hear them out, and we usually get the issue fixed. So I cannot stand here today and say he has not helped out, because when it has come to my issues that I have brought to him, he has taken care of every issue. And sometimes it's a work in progress, because it may not be a small issue. It has to be a big issue. So him not respecting some of our employees, I have personally not seen that. So I cannot judge him by that, because any employee who has come to me, we have taken care of that issue, and he has respected that.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. Our next candidate, Mr. Ortiz.
Thank you. Keep in mind that we're a board of 7, not 8. If we're going to hold the superintendent responsible for his actions, then it's a team of 7. He works for us. We don't work for him. It's a little difficult for me to stand up here and say, what would we do or ask our superintendent to do? I have not seen it, but I've heard of it. And if that's the case, and if it happens to be true, he answers to us. He's running this fantastic district that we have. We need to be cordial. We need to be respectful. And as far as individuals, employees coming to talk to us, they won't. They are afraid of retaliation. But it's been, like it's been said here, come November the 9th, that will stop.
Thank you, Mr. Ortiz. Our next candidate, Dr. Tipton.
Thank you. I just want to say that my family laid that foundation. My father just passed away this January, but his number one saying every morning, all the time, as soon as we walked out that door, is for us to always respect people so they can respect us. That's why it's very hard for me to stand here today and talk about problems or other people or things. I always like to move forward, talk about solutions. When I got on this board, I inherited so many different things. I'm sure so many different people feel the same way. But you know what? That didn't matter. What mattered is how we moved forward. Going back to the question about respect, I think that I don't tolerate it, right? And but every single issue that has been brought up to us, and if there was any disrespect within that issue, I have brought it up to the superintendent. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tipton. Our next candidate, Mr. Cowan.
I want a clarification on the question. Did you say that the superintendent is guilty of being disrespectful to employees? Is that what you're saying?
Many employees feel disrespected by the superintendent. How will you ensure he changes this culture?
Well, I don't agree with the premise of the question. I really don't, and I'll tell you why. Because, I'm an attorney, and I don't do that to people in a public forum. I'm just not going to do that. But I will tell you this, is that if there is some disrespect going on, it needs to be brought to the attention of the board, and it will be dealt with. But, in this kind of a forum, we're dissing somebody, as my daughter would say, and it's not the right time to do it, and not the way. What I've heard right here was just the opposite. November the 9th, the retaliation is going to begin, starting with the superintendent, And if this is what you want, you're going to get it. I'm just worried a little bit about this rush to judgment and kick the superintendent out. We have an A district, the person has done it twice. Before you get rid of them because somebody felt offended or something like that, and run him off, be careful. Be careful. You're dealing with a person's career, but you're dealing with our children's lives and your careers by essentially trying to trash the superintendent. I don't mean you be, but the premise of the question is he did do this, and I don't agree that he did it because I don't have the proof that he did.
Thank you, Mr. Cowan. Our next candidate, Mr. Elizondo. Many feel disrespected by the superintendent. How will you ensure that he changes this culture?
So the question is many feel, right, Mr. Cowan? And I have to say, you know what? Many do feel that way. And if you're asking yourself, what are we going to do? We're going to hold him accountable. And what you've heard consistently up here is that we will hold him accountable November the 8th, because that's who is going to be there November the 8th. You're going to have Caballero, you're going to have Elizondo, you're going to have Ortiz there. We are going to be able to hold him accountable. And the reason I tell you this is because the current board gave him an extension to his contract. How are you going to hold him accountable when you've given him an extension to his contract after you've been disrespected? Not only that, but we increased his salary to $432,000. Do you feel respected? Do you feel safe? Do you feel that you've been taken and being considered? I'm sure the answer is no. We must stop this, and it's not a threat. It's holding the superintendent accountable for his actions, just like he holds you, each and every one of you.
Thank you, Mr. Elizondo. Our final candidate for this question, Mr. Caballero.
Thank you for the lecture, Philip, but that's not acceptable. Okay? I'm gonna tell you something. I just got information this afternoon and I'm following up because we have people pictured with me. I hear they're getting retaliated against. And we're going to address that. Okay? Because I was endorsed by a teacher organization. I hear they're getting a write-up. I already know who they are. We're going to get to this. So if you all feel that that's not retaliation, I don't know what else I can tell you. That's not acceptable because somebody supports me and he feels threatened. Well, tough luck. I know the superintendent, Mr. Cowan. I worked for him for a year and a half. This is not the same man that you all are saying he is. We've got some issues. And I'm here to tell you, I do not put him on a pedestal. The way he treats people, closed doors, he doesn't meet with them, not acceptable. Yes, November 9th is coming.
Thank you, Mr. Caballero. Our next question will begin with Mr. Ortiz. Concerns have been expressed on employee bullying. What are your thoughts on how to protect the victim and address the issue?
Well, we talked about student bullying. Now we're talking about teacher bullying. That blows me away. That totally blows me away. We are professionals. That should not be happening and it should not be tolerated. We train our teachers, we train our staff every single year at the beginning of the year on bullying, student and employee bullying. And it just appalls me that it's still happening. But we come back to the same thing. Are these employees willing to bring it up because of retaliation? That is sad. Retaliation for being bullied? There's no room for that in our public school system. There's no room for that in BISD. We need to be able to hear from the individuals, and they need to come out and express their concerns, and it needs to be taken care of.
Thank you, Mr. Ortiz. Our next candidate, Dr. Tipton.
Thank you. Once again, we are a zero bullying district, wall to wall, right? I think that no one should be bullied, our students, our teachers, our families, none of us should. But we do have processes and we do have policies, and that's a good thing, that there is a democratic process. We have procedures that even former boards have said, and they've been great. We have followed them. Like I said, there's always room for improvement if there's any gaps within that process. That's what the board is there for, to listen. What can we do as a board? We can, I actually have received calls, and I let them know, and the process, I educate them, I guide them, I tell them what they need to do. If there is any type of confidentiality issues that they have, we try to take another direction with the members, with the leaders. But I have been there and I have redirected them to follow the process. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tipton. Our next candidate, Mr. Cowan.
There are state laws dealing with bullying, and they need to be followed. That's just that simple. If some bullying is taking place on a campus, a particular student is bullying another student, that in some cases needs to be reported to the state. It's not up to a principal or a staff member or a teacher to decide whether they're going to report it or not. They have a legal duty to report. So bullying is really kind of like against state law. I haven't heard of bullying on campuses in terms of with teachers and staff by students. I mean, I'm not sure if the question included that, but students bullying other students is against the law. And they can't do that, and it needs to be addressed with. The higher degree of bullying, it could border on criminal behavior, and it could be a felony depending on what's going on. In the case of trying to get somebody to commit suicide, I understand that is a felony. But anyway, it needs to be dealt with very severely because it's a very serious issue. These kids are very tender, and some of them commit suicide based on bullying, so we can't put up with it.
Thank you, Mr. Cowan. Our next candidate, Mr. Elizondo.
We know there's bullying and it's alive and well in the school district, and it's allowed. Not only is it allowed at a campus level, it's allowed just about everywhere. And the reason that is allowed, and the reason that I know, is because just your membership here, your members were not allowed to come to the table. Your membership was excluded from the decisions that are more important to you, not by me, but by this current board and the current superintendent. So is bullying here? We can all say here, Mr. Cowan says the law, he's a lawyer, he knows about it. He can say it's illegal, but you know that it's alive and well in BISD, and you know that this current board hasn't done anything about it. We can all sit here and blow whistles and say that it's illegal and it's wrong, but the proof is in the pudding. Have you been disrespected? Do you feel that you can go up to this current board and say, you know what, I'm having issues, before the superintendent knows about it? Guess what? You are on an axe. Your head is being chopped off. You are being, it needs to stop.
Thank you, Mr. Elizondo. Our next candidate, Mr. Caballero.
Sometimes there's questions that I get really into the question. I have a passion for this business. I have a passion for working with individuals. And I have to tell you this, when I hear we've done with a lot of the bullying with the kids, but I've also seen bullying with teachers. I've seldom, maybe once, had it in my career of 40 years, and I've been very fortunate. because I've had great teams that I work with. Am I against it? Absolutely. There are policies. We will follow those policies and make sure that everybody is doing what they're supposed to do in a classroom setting, in a school environment. This has no place in our society as well. So we really need to put full force into this area. And I tell you, if we all work together, change happens.
Thank you, Mr. Caballero. Our final candidate for this question, Ms. Garza.
Bullying is unacceptable. I have experienced bullying in the workplace, and yes, it happened here in BISD. And I will say, as Mr. Caballero said, retaliation, that someone was getting written up for his endorsement because he got endorsed. Well, you know what? I have some of my supporters at some of the schools who are being bullied by people who are not supporting me. And they keep on taunting these employees, telling them, oh, I'm not scared of a board member, or I'm not scared. I'm not here for retaliation. I don't believe in retaliation, but bullying is unacceptable at any level, in the student level, in the teachers bullying students, and teachers bullying employees. Because like I said, I have experienced it here in BISD. I was a classified employee, and I did get bullied by a certified employee who thought less of me because I was a classified employee. So it is unacceptable.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. Our next question will begin with Dr. Tipton. There are staff shortages nationwide in all positions, including education. What are your proposals to retain and attract educators in teaching and non-teaching positions?
Thank you. I think that one of the solutions to that is to continue to pay high competitive wages, stay within the market, not get stagnant like we had for decades. Make sure that we continue to support administration so we could go out for a study. Like I said, I don't support a TASB study or specific. I just support a study that is valid and aligned to the market. And just yesterday, we approved for us to already begin the compression study, because many of y'all know that they call it the Great Resignation, right? And so now we had to bring up all these wages, and now we're dealing with a compression issue. So now there's a lot of decompression that we need to do, and that's one of the things that we'll need to do in order for us to attract and retain our high quality employees. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tipton. Our next candidate, Mr. Cowan.
Dealing with staff shortages, one of the things that's very important, competitive wages, and not just competitive locally, but competitive statewide. We need to pay people on par with Dallas, with Houston, with other areas. We were there a long time ago, and for some reason we were allowed this to get behind. It wasn't this current board that did this. This was a board about 15 years ago that had a lot of problems. But anyway, we need to get back there and compete with these big districts, because we're a big district. We're not a small district. We need to work on improving working conditions, just quality of work conditions for our staff at campuses. I think we need to have a campus plan to improve work conditions at a campus. You need to work on that. And when the superintendent visits or assistant superintendent visits a campus, they need to talk about how's that plan going? What are your people? Are they happy with you as principal, assistant principal, whatever? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cowan. Our next candidate, Mr. Elizondo. Yes. There are staff shortages nationwide in all positions, including education. What are your proposals to retain and attract educators in teaching and non-teaching positions?
Well, first and foremost, we need to bring back the step salary increase. It was here, it was taken away. Not only that, show respect to the educators and the classified. And I'm not just talking about step increases for the certified, but the classified as well. We need to bring a seniority based aspect of this. We need to treat the whole employee holistically, not just with pay, because you can pay them all you want, but if you start cutting positions and you double their work, how much respect have you given that individual? Most people just don't go by pay. They also want to be respected. They want to feel that they're valued. And right now, the way this school district is being run is they're undervaluing their employees. And they think that by throwing a couple of bucks in your face, that's it. You're good to go. No, we have to take a holistic approach, making sure that your voice is heard. And through this membership alone, and I'm telling you, because as a union man and union president before, it is a strong voice, especially when it's collective. You will make changes. Stay together. Keep fighting the good fight.
Thank you, Mr. Elizondo. Our next candidate, Mr. Caballero.
You're gonna hear all of us talk about compensation. You're gonna hear a lot of us talk about staffing. I'm gonna take it a little step further. I don't think we invest enough for our employees. And the reason why I'm telling you that is because we also need to take care of you and teaching you by hiring somebody in the Employee Benefits Committee or department in our district and teaching you how to do personal finance investments. And by the time you leave our district, you should set yourselves to be at a millionaire status. I guarantee you that. I'm walking proof of that. Okay? But we don't invest. We don't care. We allow third-party people to come in and they sign you up one time. They forget about you. They put you in annuities and things of that nature instead of letting you invest with mutual funds through your 403B. Nobody's talked about that up here except me. Let's not forget that employees are number one.
Thank you, Mr. Caballero. Our next candidate, Ms. Garza.
As Ms. Borrego stated, it is a nationwide crisis. Education is being hit. Our public education is being attacked. What we have currently done, we did not throw money in your face. No. We valued and we saw the need that needed to be done in our salaries. This past year, we did job fairs. I think it's been a while since BISD had done their own job fair. We are working hard to recruit. Right now, it's very hard to find educators. I know educators who left the profession who still have their license. They don't want to come back. And it's not that they don't want to come back because of the salary. They don't want to come back because they found something else that makes them happy. And I respect that. But like I said, we have raised our salaries. We continue to recruit. We are an A-rated district. We are the best district. And for someone to say that we threw money in your face, no, because we're going to continue moving your salaries forward.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. Our final candidate for this question, Mr. Ortiz.
Yes, there is an issue with teacher shortages all over the nation. So what we need to do as a district is be innovative and be creative. We want to be the district that people want to come to, but we need to make it lucrative for them. And we need to make it, for them to know that this is the best choice for them as a career. Competitive wages is one of them. I agree that the step increase should also be implemented again, because I gave you an example on Monday, about 217-year teachers and a paraprofessional. We need to take a look at the teacher workloads, and I think we've talked about that. We need to take a look at support with discipline. A lot of our teachers leave because of discipline and no support, and also respect. One of the biggest things that teachers leave the teaching profession is wages and respect and workload. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ortiz. We are entering into our final question. We will begin with Mr. Cowan. How do you feel employee morale is in the district and why? And what do you plan to do to improve it?
I've been talking about campus plans the whole evening. It's a campus level issue. The district can order you to be happy. It's not gonna work. It's gotta take place at the campus level. You know, and you have to hold principals accountable for what's going on their campus, for the stress levels on the campus, you know, and you just gotta do it. Gotta have the guts to do it too, you know. Principals are very powerful people on the campus. Most of the retaliation I've seen in the district isn't the board retaliate. It takes place on a campus where people are fear speaking out, afraid they're going to get in trouble. You know, and that's where a lot of the stress comes from. But it has to be a campus-based plan. The district, board, superintendent sets goals, and then the district implements it by having campuses deal with this issue at the campus level and address stress levels at the campus to improve.
Thank you, Mr. Cowan. Our next candidate, Mr. Elizondo. How do you feel employee morale is in the district and why? And what do you plan to do to improve it?
I mean, that's a pretty hard question to ask. How do I feel? I'm not the one living there. I'm not the one working there. But I do hear the concerns. The concerns every night, Monday through Friday, Saturday, and Sunday because she has to go back to work. That's my wife. How do I feel? I feel horrible to see her every night man, I have so much work. Man, I have to go take care of these kids. I have 600 students. I got to make sure that they go through the process. I'm going to follow them through their whole 4 years. Man, what am I going to do? How am I going to make that kid's life better? Those are her concerns. Now they belong to me. And I'll accept them. And I'll make sure that I do something about it come November the 9th. Because I will be obligated to make sure that I'm the voice of the membership. What is your concern? Those should be voiced to your membership, and they should be heard at the administrative level. And if they're not, they need to be heard by the board member. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Elizondo. Our next candidate, Mr. Caballero.
Mr. Cowan, lesson plans. This is a program that was bought for the teachers and they're expected to follow it without any question. Okay, just so that I know you probably have heard that it was purchased at the district level. You know, low teacher morale is something that I spoke to since day one. When I go to HEB, and I also have a sister-in-law who's a teacher in this district. And we usually try to get together on the weekends, because I can't. I have lesson plans, I've got grades, lesson plans, more grades, after school programs. And I have to tell you, this is a topic that's been hitting you. I don't have to say that. How do we improve teacher morale? We've got to look into it. We've got to look at the root of the problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Caballero. Our next candidate, Ms. Garza.
When we came back from summer break, I would say, I thought we were going to have an excellent year. We are an A-rated district. Our teachers did amazing. But here we are into our first 6 weeks, and teachers are feeling overwhelmed already. I do come from a family of educators, and not just in BISD, but from other districts. And this is an ongoing crisis. Morale is not just in BISD that it's low, it is everywhere right now. I have sat down with other of my colleagues so we can come up with new ways, like how can we give our teachers the support? We know some of our administrators get the support from upper administration, but we want to make sure that that administration also gives our teachers the support that they need in order to be successful. And if it goes back to eliminating some of the redundant paperwork, which I am for, let's do it. Because like I said, we're barely into our first 6 weeks that we completed, and everybody's waiting for a break already.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. Our next candidate, Mr. Ortiz.
You asked me about morale. I hear it. Like I told you on Monday, I hear your voices, and I hear your needs. Our morale is low, district-wide. But the one thing that we need to do is listen. We need to listen to our members. We need to listen to our stakeholders. And then we need to ask them, what can we do to help you do what you need to do? It's a two-way street. But most importantly, we need to use our ears. We need to listen. And then allow them to provide us with some solutions. I hear teacher workloads. I hear redundant paperwork. I hear the duplication of programs. I hear, micromanagement. These are some of the concerns. I'm a listener. And my stakeholders will always be listened to, and we will find solutions together.
Thank you, Mr. Ortiz. Our final candidate for this question, Dr. Tipton.
Thank you. One of the things that I've done in the last 4 years is listen to the constituents, listen to the members. It's changed. What is attributed to low morale? What was the response to that has varied through these 4 years. If you asked me in the summer or in my 3rd year, what was attributing to low morale was the pay. If you asked me in year 2, it was the pay. We have worked very hard to meet that need, which was the pay, and we still have a lot more work. But if you ask me today about what I have heard and what I have, listening to some of the members, some of the constituents and family members of our teachers and educators of what is attributed to low morale, it's now paperwork, the redundancy of paperwork, the lesson plan, and like somebody said, we're just on the 6 weeks, and that's why we've already acted on the compression study. I'm already advocating to create a subcommittee so we can review all the redundant paperwork and workloads and lesson plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tipton. We are going to now begin our closing comments. Each candidate will be given 5 minutes, correct? Oh, it has 5. Okay. Correction, 4. 400. 4 minutes. All right. Each candidate will be given 4 minutes for closing comments, and we are going to begin with Mr. Elizondo.
So just to let you know, I was on the board 2014 through 2018. But let's not focus on that. We got to focus on what the issues are today. Because you'll hear a lot of people, well, 2014 through 2018, whatever it is, The situation right now is that this district has lost total respect for the employee, has lost total respect for your career. Some individual will tell you, well, you have a choice. Yeah, but you do have a choice as a board member to do the right thing. One of them is to listen. We all can stand up here and tell you, I'm gonna listen. I have listened. I've been listening for 4 years. Some will tell you I've been listening for 2. But have they acted? And the answer, is no. I can say everything I want today because guess what? It's an election cycle. I will raise your pay. I will respect you. I will hold the team of 8 captain accountable. I will tell him he must not bully the employee. I will not let that happen during an election cycle. What has happened the last 4 years? Absolutely nothing. And that's why we're here today. That's why you have a choice. As a membership, you've been allowed to stay on the sidelines. How does that feel? You ask any player that doesn't play the game at the end of the game how they feel. That's AOBE right now. This team of 8 has put you on the sideline and kept you there for the last 4 years. They claim to listen. They've claimed to have acted. Have you seen it? You do have a choice. And as a membership and a collective membership, you have leaders that have gone out there to take your concerns to this board. And you ask me or ask them because you trust them because they're your leaderships, if they have done anything for you. Safety has been a huge concern and will be a huge concern. This current board wants to make you believe that they have all the intentions for you, that they are here to do the right thing. Ask yourself that question. Have they done the right thing the last 4 years? Will they do the right thing the next 4 years if you give them that chance? You've already seen it already. If you would have thought they would have listened to this membership and to their concerns, do you think they would have given the superintendent an extension and a raise? Do you think they would have cut positions and given those $12,000 up the tree or up that pyramid where it's lonely at the top? When all of you are doing the work, when you're taking the brunt force, when you're taking extra work without more pay, home. Is it fair and favorable and respectful for you to take work home and do away with family time? Because guess what? I spend a lot of family time by myself and my daughter because my wife has to sit in bed till midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning because she has to fill all this paperwork and all these requirements and all these extra duties and everything before she has to go work the next morning. And guess what? She starts at school, I think it's 8:30. She's gone by 7, sometimes by even 6:30. And she doesn't come home till after 4:30 because when she's supposed to get home. She sometimes doesn't come home till close to 7 o'clock. How fair is that for you? You have a choice. November the 8th, Carlos Elizondo.
Thank you, Mr. Elizondo. Our next candidate, Mr. Caballero.
I'm going to say this because my opponent and I, we share family members together. And I know that we have had discussions up here. This is not about personal, this is business. And I got to tell you, since February, we've been seeing this happening to us. We went to all the board meetings to brush up on all the agendas or all the issues in the agenda. Since February, all decisions were being made behind closed doors, and they come out with written statements, very well written. I said, wow. So Ortiz and I faced that at the beginning. It was all orchestrated due to the team of 8, and I know that. Okay? Local programs, you're going to see a differences in my politics and the differences in my opponent. Like I said, this is not personal. This is something that I have a passion for. My politics are going to be differences based on my experiences. And I'm going to say also, because I'm in a picture with an employee and you retaliate against the employee, that's not acceptable either. All of these programs that they're bringing in, all of a sudden we want to eliminate them. Who's approving them? Is it the superintendent, the deputies only? If they are, I agree with you all when you said they should be campus-based. Imagine Reading and Imagine Math is a program that I was the only campus when I was the principal that had that program. They found out how effective it was. I'm glad they joined in and started ordering it for other campuses at the elementary level. Now, they just got 2 weeks ago, they just got the iReady program. Go figure. Who's receiving a nice contract? Somewhere along the line, somebody is. We also hear about state level participation with regards to education. I haven't seen that from anybody on that board. I heard somebody the other day said they went to a conference to learn more about what's coming. Okay, but what happens to the other board members? How engaged are they really at with our kids, with our staff? I'm gonna be walking the line with you. I always, when I was a principal, I slept until 2 in the morning. I closed the day, I sent all my emails, I opened up another day for the teachers and the staff. Somebody just recently told me they're really not voting for you because you were bad with the staff. Said you better go talk to the staffs that I've worked because I had a great time with them. Did we work hard for children? Absolutely. Okay, we got to look at our staffing quotas. That's impossible. We can't continue doing this. And if you don't believe me, you watch what's going to happen to the district in December. We've already lost 26 people. You watch in December. There's a line coming. They're lining up because they're fed up with this. We talk about discipline issues and how to be nice to people and all of that. I got to tell you, you got to have discipline in your campuses. There is no way out of that. Now, there's, like I said, if we have behavioral issues, then we start developing the RTIs to help kids. If they're in special ed, we got to follow that IEP, can't escape that IEP. Okay? I also want to say this because I messed yesterday, I missed on the Google certification. I strongly suggest that we look at those certifications. And one last thing, I got to put it in there, is on October the 18th, I have a meet and greet. I'm going to send you information. It's on the 18th, and it'll be at 30 hours. Put it in there.
Thank you, Mr. Caballero. Our next, I was gonna say contestant because I got all nervous because I couldn't take the microphone. Sweating over here. Our next candidate is Ms. Garcia.
I will say, I have continued to work for our students, teachers, and staff, and our parents. And during these 2 years, we have been successful. And why? Because I have listened to you all. You all brought up the raises, and I listened. And not just me, because I'm just one vote, but we listened. And we have continued listening to you. And many times I have heard from employees, you all have been the first board to listen. That's why we continue bringing these concerns to you all. And you all continue to listen. I am not here, like I have said, for a title. I am here to serve. I have served our community for several years, advocating for students, advocating for families. I don't know when what Mr. Elizondo means when someone says that, oh, someone's getting money from a vendor or something like that, because I will tell you, I have not received any money from anybody for a deal, because I am not a self-serving board member. I am here to do what is right. I am not going to ruin my reputation for a couple of $1,000s. I want to be able to sleep at night, and I sleep at night because I know that when I make a vote, because I am just one vote, it is the right vote that I feel is correct, so that I can sleep at night and move on. We have seen previously when administrators come to the board and administrators take care of administrators. I am here for all employees, and we have successfully listened to all our employees, from our custodians to our administrators. And a lot of people have told me, hey, Denise, I did not know you, but you're very approachable. You're very nice. You do listen. That is me. I listen to everyone. I also, like I've said, I'm here for our students. I have sat down with many students who also felt retaliated by some of their administrators and by some of their coaches. And we have sat with them and we have tried to work on those issues. So I'm not just here for teachers, I am here for everybody. And I think these 2 years have proven that I am not self-serving. I am here to do the right thing. And I ask for your support because I have done the right thing. I am not here for my family to get special treatment. My daughter says, Mom, I don't want people to know who you are because I don't want to be treated differently. So she is not out there saying who I am, and I respect that. And her teachers treat her excellent. But like I've said, we have moved our district forward. We're not going to stop compensation. We moved everybody forward, and it's not going to stop. We plan already to put some stuff in place, and we just voted on it yesterday. Why? Because we care for our employees. And November 8th, we will be reelected. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. Our next candidate, Mr. Ortiz.
Thank you very much. I'd like to start off, first of all, by thanking the membership for giving me an opportunity to come and speak to you and share my thoughts and my vision for BISD. Unfortunately, I wasn't given that opportunity by another association. So I really want to thank you for the invitation and for allowing me to be able to express to you my ideas. These 2 days have been very informative for me as to what I hear the concerns are out there. I've listened. The thing about me is that I'm a good listener. And when I say that I'm going to do something, I deliver. I'm passionate about education. It's been all my life. That's the career I chose. And I am so happy that I did. I am passionate about what I did for 41 years. I'm passionate about what I am doing now with student teachers. Once an educator, always an educator. Can't get away from it. And you've got to have that love for it if you're going to be effective and if you're going to make a difference in the lives of students that come into your classroom year after year, every single day. We talked about student and employee safety. Of course, that's the main thing that everybody's talking about and taking the right, steps to make sure that all of our students and employees are safe. We've talked about competitive wages. We've talked about redundant paperwork. We talked about duplicating programs. We talked about lack of respect. We talked about teacher and employee retention. We talked about teacher workloads. You know where I stand. You know what? These issues are very, very important to each and every one of you, and this is why they were brought up. If these issues are important to you, they're important to me. I will be your voice, and I will listen to you for the next 4 years. Because I hear those cries, and I hear those concerns, as I've said before, and I hear those needs. And I went through that as well, myself. But we always found solutions. And there's always a solution for everything if we're willing to listen. But that's the key. Are we willing to listen and work with our stakeholders so we can make a difference in the lives of our employees and, most importantly, in the lives of our students? You have a choice. You have a choice. And that decision is going to be yours. But I'm committed to you. I'm committed to you for the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ortiz. Our next candidate, Dr. Tipton.
Thank you. If there's anything that I want to say, I want to use this platform to thank my family and allowing me to be out of the house for so many hours and times, right? Especially with the passing of my father, right? But he always understood the importance of education. He came all the way from Ecuador, who was in the Merchant Marine for 20 years. And out of all the places that he traveled all over the world, he stayed here. And he really came because he believed in education. And although we worked very hard for, since I was 5 years old at the shipyard, no matter how busy we were, we had 3 shifts running with almost 100 men. I was the president of the company at 15 I was just, he micromanaged, so he just elected me. That's the beauty of owning the small business. But he always instilled education. He knew the importance of it. And so if there's anything that I want to say is, I want to thank them for allowing me to serve you all for 4 years. I know that this membership did not endorse me last time, and it's okay. I don't hold grudges. I'm here to serve everyone in our community, all the kids, and all the staff and all the educators, anybody who comes up to us or to me or to my family with issues, we try to help and find some common ground. I also want to say to my son Scotty, I hope that I inspire him as much as he has inspired me, and I'm looking forward to the next 4 years. But I just want to say that again, my ultimate goal here at Bisd is to ensure that we foster a culture of equity. The equity within our own pay, within ourselves, within the schools, within our resources. There was such an inequity that I was just appalled by it. And it's okay. I mean, I'm not going to play the blame game here. I want to find solutions to see how we can move forward. And I think we have. And I want to continue that for the next 4 years. And again, what some of the things that I just want to say is that we want to continue balancing the budget, working really hard without any tax increases to our working families while preserving a healthy reserve fund. I went through a SHIM crisis back in 10 years ago. I thought that was bad. I mean, anybody who goes out to the Port of Brownsville sees that was a ghost town. It changed the whole course of my career. So when I saw this pandemic, I realized that, I was glad we had that reserve fund, because the only thing that everyone was worried about was how they were going to pay their mortgage. So my goal is to continue to balance a budget, having a healthy reserve fund to make sure that we're ready for any world pandemic that's out there. I want to continue to seek competitive bids, to seek best value. For example, when we came in, we had the self-insurance fund. It was negative 11 million. We went out for competitive bid, got best value. In 4 years, we haven't increased the health benefits for our employees. So we are really hoping that we continue despite the health cost increase, even in these last 2 years. And we still didn't. We demanded to seek best value to ensure that we don't carry those costs to our employees. Of course, 10 seconds. Continue to close the wage gap. And but most importantly, I just want you all to know that we listened. I know that even just recently, we're gonna create that subcommittee so we can make sure that we can reduce that workload if that is what's attributing to the low morale and the stress of our teachers. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tipton. Our final candidate for closing statements, Mr. Cowan.
You see, Mr. Caballero and I get into it. We're old. Así son los viejos. I'm a business person. I don't stay in business because I keep my employees off or my customers off. You have to treat them nicely. But what I treat my employees with, always with respect. If I have a manager, I treat him with respect. I'm concerned, and I'm addressed it here, where there's this tendency right now. Mr. Elizondo said that he and Mr. Caballero and Mr. Ortiz are working together. They're running kind of like a group. And it looks like they want to fire the superintendent within the first 3 months after they get on the board. We saw that 4 years ago. Ms. Brown got elected. Oh, no, we're going to get Dr. Sedeco as a hearing. And what happened? First meeting in January, it's on the agenda to get rid. I've seen it before. Remember one thing, the way someone treats the superintendent and the staff, that's the way you're going to get treated. That's the way you're gonna get treated. If they talk bad about him, they're gonna talk bad about you behind your back, and they're not gonna give you a hearing. And, I said a little while ago, maybe retaliation is gonna take place starting November the 9th. And you need to be careful and be concerned about that. One of the things that I want you to remember, and I want to remind you about, is you're an A district. This group, AOBE, TSTA, the NEA, they created an A district twice. Not once, twice. First A district came under Dr. Hatton. It was given to Dr. Gutierrez when he came in. Now we have an A district. You're wonderful. I don't want to let these three people tell you you're not wonderful. You are wonderful. I want you to believe in yourself. If the superintendent's not getting his message out, I know how to get him to get the message out. I know how. I can tell you that because you set goals and you set it and you say, get it done. I think Ms. Brown has some problems. Last night, the board meeting, there was an item on the agenda to discuss raising access to the aquatic center from $20 to $40. The only board member that didn't do anything about it was Ms. Brown. Everybody else was shocked. She has friends over there. Her husband used to work there. That's not good as a board member. That's that insider dealing that's going on, somebody in administration. That doesn't help. Anyway, okay, I'm sorry. I thought you were saying I was chewing gum. Okay. But anyway, one of the things I think is very important is that you believe in yourselves. Don't let anybody convince you otherwise. Believe in yourselves. You're a great bunch of people. You've done wonders for this school system. I know things are not perfect and we'll improve them. If they throw me in Dr. Tipton and Denise Garza's company, I'm in good company. I'm going to tell you that. I'm in good company, and I'm proud to stand by that if they want to say that. I don't want to say any more. I want to say that I love you. I really appreciate you allowing me to come and talk to you. I appreciate this debate forum rather than, talking behind closed doors. And one union didn't even want to listen to a lot of people, so they wouldn't hear it. But it's not the first time. It's the second election, I bet you, where they wouldn't do that. But anyway, thank you very much. God bless you. Y'all take care of yourself. Be careful. Wear a mask when you need to. We all know the routine. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cowan. All right. We would like to thank every single candidate for participating here tonight. This is very difficult when you're running for elections. People get very passionate and forget to turn over the mic on time. All candidates were sent a questionnaire with additional questions. Those questionnaires will be uploaded later tonight on our website, myaobe.com. Again, those of you who are not here in person and do not want to vote online, you can vote in our office in person Thursday and Friday between the hours of 9 a.m. and 8 p.m. and on Saturday from 10 to 2. This is what our ballot looks like. I don't know if you can see it in the, let me get closer. Is it? All right. That ballot we have here for those who are going to be voting in person. It would also be the ballot for you when you go to the office, and online, it looks exactly the same. Okay? I personally will be sending out the link for ballots as soon as I get off this microphone and stop talking. So again, thank you to everybody for taking the time to watch us. We know that this is a long forum, but it is very important that you are well informed. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.